Alright, hello everyone and welcome to episode 67 of our Blackburn Rovers Football Manager 2017 save. Okie dokie, so just a heads up, I've not actually played Football Manager myself in over a week, so I'm going to have to refresh my memory as we go along, but I guess it leaves us both in the same boat. But despite that, the one thing I do remember is the fact that we, at the moment, are cruising at the top of the Premier League. A 9-point gap between us and Man United. Watch me jinx it now. Despite actually being on top of the injury list. I'm not quite sure where I can see it. I was actually looking at it literally a second ago. So just to let you guys know who exactly got injured. Matthias Kunz has been out for quite a while and unfortunately still will be out, which will of course affect his development, and it's a shame really because he was contributing pretty well as a squad player. Kerem Demirbay, who's proven over the past few years to be a little bit injury prone despite being an important player for us. He's only recently come back from injuries, you guys will know from the previous episode or maybe the episode before that. He got injured again whilst we were gone, which wasn't really great. And Bain Yang, who was our top goal scorer for the season at the time of getting injured, also got injured. But he's still young, so I think he'll be okay. A broken toe, will be back, hopefully, relatively soon. And Oriol Romeo, as you guys can see, is suffering a bit of a short-term injury. We don't have to really worry too much about him. Schedule-wise, the last episode, of course, was our win against Manchester United in the Premier League. Shout out to Saul, who got sent off and, to be fair, made our lives a little bit easier and helped us widen that gap at the top of the Premier League table. After that, we played Walsall, a League One team? Championship team, slap bang bottom of the Championship. We've actually loaned them Daryl McCartney, who's one of our players. I didn't realise that, to be fair. Don't think he was allowed to play against us, obviously, because of the rules and stuff. But yeah, we beat them 2-0. Piaka scored, which was nice. And as you guys can see, Piaka scored 1 against Chelsea, 2 against Liverpool in the EFL Cup, and grabbed 1 against Leicester as well. So the Croatian, who we of course signed for £9.5 million last season from Juve, is finally starting to rediscover his goal-scoring form. But what's even nicer is, on top of the fact that he's starting to rediscover his goal-scoring form, he has the most assists in our side. And it's kind of annoying because he's asking for a new contract. And I swear to God, I gave him a new contract a few weeks ago, and he wants a newer contract. So hopefully this is something that gets fixed in next year's game, because it's kind of annoying. Just a tip, when a player comes into your office and asks for a new contract, select that option that challenges him to prove why he wants a new contract, because other than that, he's going to throw a fit and then you'll end up having to sell him. So after that, we then played Crystal Palace in the Premier League. And if we look at the date, it was on the 1st of January, which of course means our brand new signing in Sasa Vargek. Or Varjek, I'm not quite sure, don't speak Serbian. Zdravo to any Serbians watching. Let me know how the hell you're meant to pronounce this guy's name. And as you guys can see, he's had 4 appearances for us. I pretty much put him straight into the starting lineup. Owners paid £25.5 million for him. He's young, he needs game time. He's not significantly worse than the right-backs we have at the moment. Valkvist is playing more as a backup centre-back at the moment, simply because his performances ain't been great in the right-back position. And to be fair, with an average rating of 7.57 and a goal, which is pretty nice for a right-back, you have to admit that so far he's definitely started paying back a decent chunk of that £25.5 million. The goal that he scored wasn't a worldie by any means, but it was really good positioning from him, and it was really just the icing on top of the cake in what was an extremely dominant win, really, against a poor Crystal Palace side. They didn't even have a single shot on target, but you'd probably expect that from us, a team gunning for not just the Premier League, but the Champions League as well. We beat Wolves 2-0. Wolves obviously newly promoted last season. They're not exactly looking phenomenal this season either. They could easily fall into the relegation zone alongside Chelsea, lol. Uh, what we've done really well this season is basically, obviously we've won a lot of games, there's a lot of green here, but what we've done really, really well is avoid slipping up, in these must-win games against weakened sides like Wolves. We then had a game against Chelsea. I was kind of contemplating whether to live-com that or not. But we've live-commed a lot of Chelsea games, and given that they're currently 16th in the Premier League with Steve Clarke newly brought in as manager, I think it was Paulo Bento who recently left them, or got the sack rather. Yes, it was. Who joined them at the start of the season. Didn't really feel like it was worth a live-com because I felt pretty damn confident we were going to beat them, and that's exactly what we did. We then played Liverpool in the FL Cup semi-final first leg. Again, kind of a game where I was kind of a bit like, should I live-com it, should I not? But then again, Liverpool again this season, kind of 8th in the Premier League. So don't really consider them as a big game this season at least anymore. And given that we kind of smashed them 3-0, I'd like to think that it says a lot about our dominance so far this season, and that it says a lot about Liverpool's downfall this season, especially when you consider they actually won the Premier League a few seasons ago, only 2 seasons ago, when they, of course, had Lucescu as manager. And then a real tough game against Leicester. Ahmed Musa came on, pulled it back to 2-1. It was always going to be nervy. I always struggle to play against Leicester. It doesn't matter who their manager seems to be. Defensively, they're always sound. They've got Krychowiak, who of course was phenomenal at the Euros last summer, playing in midfield. We tried to sign him when we first got promoted, but unfortunately he chose Leicester over us. Lol. Carlos Alenya, as usual, cool as a cucumber, slotting away a penalty, and then Marco Piacca grabbing the second in the 72nd minute. So, really, not much more to say. We got drawn against AC Milan somehow in the Champions League. I mean, you couldn't write this shit, basically. Excuse my language, but you honestly couldn't. For anyone who doesn't get it, last season we won the Europa League, and AC Milan were in our groups in the Europa League last season. They beat us twice in the groups. We advanced through to the second stage, eventually fought our way into the Europa League final, ended up playing Milan in the final. And 1 out of the 2 times we played them in the groups, we had a 2-0 lead, bottled it, right? Grand final, Europa League, 2-0 lead, bottled it again, went down to penalties, and we just about won it and beat Milan to the Europa League. So to have them now in the Champions League, I can't help but feel like they're going to be searching for a little bit of revenge, to say the least, but they're quite a few games away, so I'm not going to worry about them too much just yet. And the Milan first leg will, of course, be the next episode, followed by a cheeky double episode with Man City away, and then the second leg of the AC Milan game. But for this episode, as you may have probably been able to tell from the thumbnail, it's going to be Arsenal. Now, Arsenal 6th place, not exactly doing great in the Premier League for once, but as you guys know, Arsenal are one of our bogey sides. And when you look at how we're doing in the table right now, I think playing a team like Arsenal, especially at home, especially considering we finally kind of like broke the curse by beating them 1-0 away from home earlier on in the season. If we can get 3 points against Arsenal at this point in the season, it's going to take off so much pressure off our shoulders, help us try and maintain that gap between us and Jose Mourinho's Manchester United in second place. And just to prove to you how bad we've been historically against Arsenal for any new viewers, I think that says it all. So without further ado, I've already wasted 9 minutes just babbing on what's happened in the past. I say let's focus on the future, and let's head to Ewood Park and play Arsene Wenger's Arsenal. It's 2021, and Arsene Wenger's still somehow Arsenal manager. Also, just another thing that I forgot to mention in the last 1 or 2 episodes, Brexit has actually happened, and we've been quite fortunate. I might be able to find the news post still. No, it's disappeared, unfortunately. But in terms of Brexit, we basically got a good Brexit, which was kind of a godsend, because I was really worried we'd end up with a really bad Brexit and we won't be able to bring in European players. But basically, it's the best Brexit you can get, I think. It basically just means that nothing's going to change, I think, and we are going to still need work permits for players outside the EU. But despite us, obviously, Brexiting and no longer being in the EU, we really don't have to worry about any changes, or at least that's how I made sense of it. On another note, let's try... Oh, wow. Okay, Man United lost against Spurs. I didn't actually realise that, so that makes this game even more important, and fingers crossed we can win. All right, welcome to a typical Rainy Ewood Park. Can't exactly say I'm surprised. So, starting lineup-wise, we go with Varjek on the right-hand side, Rajkovic in goal, of course, Kalas and Danny Bath. Danny Bath actually comes in. Felt like maybe for a game like this, Danny Bath's leadership and physicality would be a pretty good match, you know, at centre-back, given that they're going to be playing Cavani up front. It is 2021, so he's not as fast as he once upon a time was. So I do actually think that's something we can use in our favour. Augustinson is, of course, going to be out on the left, as he has been for us for quite a few seasons. Douglas plays in front of the back four. Rog and Elenya both in midfield. Elenya's looking a little bit shaky, so we could see Nigel come on at half-time, irregardless of what the score is. Piaka on the left, who's going to try and continue his awesome goal-scoring form. Andre Gray plays on the right-hand side. Not really his ideal position, preferring playing through the middle, but when Yang's injured, I don't really have much of a choice. And Nano playing as the central striker. As far as Arsenal are concerned, they've got no new names, really. They've signed Dina left-back, George at centre-back, centre mids of what we're used to seeing so far in this save, and the front four, other than Cavani, Sanchez on the left, Chamberlain on the right, Ozil playing just in the hole. Yeah, that's it really. In terms of tactically, whether we've changed anything around specifically, our wide strikers are, of course, marking these wide attacking midfielders, so they will track back and help out defensively. But in terms of tactically, I've changed absolutely nothing. You know, sometimes I like to tweak the odd instruction here and there depending on the opposition, but given Cavani's lack of pace, I don't really feel like I need to change our defensive line. Don't really feel like we want to try and gamble using the offside trap, because to be fair, Sanchez and Chamberlain are still pretty damn pacey. If there was anything I was going to do, it would probably tell Varjek to play a little bit more defensively, or maybe consider putting Valkvist on, because he's a little bit better defensively, to maybe deal with Sanchez a little bit better. But to be fair, I've got him playing as IWBs, and I think that balance is just about right for now. If it doesn't seem great, we can always change that later. I think, as always, let's just work our way into the game, see what happens, and then tweak if we feel tweaks are necessary. But so far this season, to be fair, I've not really been doing that much tactically. The players are just going out there and playing really, really damn well. So hopefully I've not just jinxed it. Kalas is going to tackle Cavani. And as you guys can see, these guys ain't really tracking back much. But what a mistake from George Nano. One-on-one with Edinson, or Edison, sorry. So I tried to be smart there and say Edinson. It turned out to be Edison. Yeah. I think that's kind of karma for what Danny Bath did to us when we played Real Madrid. So, you know, what they say, what goes around comes around. I'll take that for now. With 5 minutes to go, we're going to drop, not contain. Jesus Christ. I meant defensive. But we're going to calmly, you know, tell the players I'm not too happy with what we've seen so far. Because, to be fair, they've not exactly played that well. 2 highlights that entire half, so both teams are playing quite poorly. We're going to switch back to a counter mentality, and I think what's important for us at the moment is to really try and retain possession as well as we can. Lower our tempo a little bit. There's no rush at the moment. Anything else I'm going to do would probably be consider taking off Elenya, but I'm going to let him at least play for the first 10 minutes and see how he does. Here we go. So, ball out to Alexis. Arsenal kicking off, of course. And, oh no. Danny Bath. Right, okay. 50th minute, both Elenya and Bath are coming off. I mean, Bath's on a 6.9, but I'd like to think that that missed header is a sign of things to come. I mean, oh, what a goal from Mustafi. What a goal. That was a really good header, that. But who was the man that was marking him? Really good ball from Ozil. But who's that? Is that Varjek? No, it's Thomas Kalas. We don't normally concede set pieces. To be fair, we have conceded 2 set pieces this season, so very unlike us. Carl Elenya is actually having a good game, but he's going to have to come off. I'm actually going to swap Andre and Nano around, simply because Andre isn't exactly having much of a great time out on the right-hand side. And other than that, are there any other changes we want to make? I don't really like the fact that Douglas looks so nervous. Thomas Kalas looking pretty nervous after what just happened as well, but I'm going to keep my faith in him. Do I want to take Danny Bath off? You know what? Well, I mean, Dario Dumic always gives away penalties. Valkvist is going to come on. I'm going to leave Thomas Kalas on, and we're going to try and basically keep a partnership of the Premier League's most handsome centre-back partnership instead. And hopefully that'll just, you know, distract Ozil and Cavani and help us dig in and get the job done. You have to admit they are a pretty handsome centre-back partnership, aren't they? Good head from Kalas, but well done, like a rug. I was kind of disappointed in Andre Gray's attempts to try and win that ball back in the air, especially considering Andre's normally pretty decent in the air. He loses it again. Andre's really not having a great game. Early on in this highlight, he tried to play a direct ball out to the right-hand side that didn't exactly go according to plan. We're a little bit deep for my liking as well, almost like we're playing into the hands of where Cavani wants to be, and our luck against Arsenal continues. Defensively, we've been all over the place. It has to be said today. It doesn't really feel like we've really put a shift in defensively. Real sloppy goal. I mean, that's Callas once again missing the header. I'm not quite sure why Varjek isn't trying to get involved. Nano was never going to outjump Alexis in the air, so time to make changes. We've got just under half an hour left. Going to go more positive. Man United lost their game, so I guess after seeing that, it's not going to be the end of the world. We'll still maintain that 9-point gap should we lose this game, but 2-1 down at home against Arsenal. I guess you've got to go for it, otherwise the fans really get on your back. We've increased our defensive line, trying to use the offside trap, as you really kind of have to do when you move your defensive line forward. We've increased our tempo. We've changed our IFBs to fullbacks to try and get them up the pitch that little bit more. If I am going to make a change, I'm actually going to make Andre Gray an advanced forward, simply because he's not been good at all trying to play in that slightly more deeper role today. So for that reason, might as well play him in a more natural role. Try and get him on the shoulder of perhaps the last defenders, and just try and use the pace that we know he has to burn, really. Dumic will come on for Callas, simply because Callas has been absolutely atrocious this game and deserves to come off. But let's see what happens now. So Bellerin's going to advance forward. It's a good tackle from Nigel. He's not had as much playtime as I perhaps may have wanted him to have so far this season, but it's difficult when you've got as many talented players as we do. Augustinson whips the ball in, and that's why we changed him to a wing-back. Pushes forward, passes the ball in the box, and our Fox in the box might be called Nano, but his goal-scoring tally's definitely been a lot bigger than Nano. That was terrible. I'm sorry. Nano being small and being a unit of measurement. Sorry. I'll shut up now. So, okay, let's try and hold on to the ball a little bit better. I'll be happy with 2-2. United lost their game. We'll look to waste time as well once we can. I really wish you didn't have to, wait. I understand why you have to wait that small amount of time for your changes to kick in before you can then go in and make more changes, but it is kind of annoying. Regular fullback, stick them on automatic. We should be able to see the rest of the game out. Defensively, we've not really been great. But what's positive, I'd say, is considering we've not exactly had players like Elenya, Demirbay and so on the pitch, considering that we were basically 2-1 down at one point, I'm pretty happy with a point. I think come the end of the season, it'll be a pretty good result. I'm not going to give the lads a bollocking. I'll say, actually, nah. We'll say that weren't good enough, because Arsenal are 6th in the table. So, where does that put us? That helps us further the gap between us and Man United to 10 points. I've just actually realised that even though they lost against Spurs, they still have a game in hand. And the reason for that is because they, of course, won the Club World Club Cup thing, because they won the Champions League last season, which obviously meant that they got an invite to Qatar. Ironic, given what's happening in Qatar at the moment. The FIFA Club World Cup, where they just about beat Palmeiras 2-1. I think it's safe to say the 10-point gap we do have, even if Man United get a win in their next game and we lose and narrow it down to 7 points at this point in the season, 7 points is still pretty damn healthy, and we're still unbeaten for God knows how long. We've already broken our own personal records. Post-match press conferences, I'm not really going to worry about any of these. So 2-2. Result is going to be the final score. Nano getting on the score sheet twice. And, I think I'm just going to field some youngsters for the game against Liverpool. We've got a 3-0 win on aggregate. And I guess I'll see you guys next time for the AC Milan game. If you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm sorry that there haven't been that many uploads recently. I've been really, really busy. Obviously, outside of playing Football Manager. Hopefully, I'll find some more time to play more Football Manager in the forthcoming days, weeks, months, years. I will have a Zidane tactical video coming out for those of you guys who are interested in my tactical videos. I've kind of recreated Zidane's 4-4-2, 4-3-3 diamond fluid thing that he's recently used to not only win La Liga, but make history in the Champions League. So there will be a video on that, but like I said, I've not had much time to work on the presentation and so on. So, yeah. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching.